All right, hello everybody. This is the Kubernetes SIG Architecture Production Readiness Sub-Project meeting for April 22nd, 2020. This is being recorded, so please follow our code of conduct and don't say anything you don't want on the internet. So a couple of items here. Okay. So you guys can put your names here, just for the record here. So I did put in a bunch of PRs for trying to formalize or finish this up. Some updates to the CAP to sort of discuss what the process is. It's very terse what I put in, but would be happy to get comments on that. And Jeremy, there's work for the enhancements team that comes in, so I think there needs to be more detail in here. This is sort of a quick overview, and then we'll actually have to write a document, probably in the community repo, where we have a document already, but we'll add a little more detail in here, and probably need to add about like who does what. I had a few questions for this group on that as well. This is a PR that just pulls the questionnaire out and updates the status, but this is probably where we would add more details on that process. It's just very briefly outlined in the CAP. And then finally, the update to the CAP template, which takes that questionnaire, puts it in here, and then marks the things here that are required prior to targeting. And pretty much that's it. That's the questionnaire there. The piece that's probably we need to work on as part of phase 2 of the CAP is how to handle the approvers, the PRR approvers. And as part of that, we have now a team. This actually merged. But that team right now is very small, and that's a big concern for me. So things I want to discuss here, how do we get a bigger pool? If we're going to have a bigger pool, or even for people who want the things approved, do we need a guide sort of to give some guidance about what's a good answer and what's a bad answer to the questions? And finally, and Wojciech's not here, I would want to discuss this with him in particular, do we need specific areas to be approved by specific people or SIGs, or do we just have sufficient training for the PRR approvers that they don't need that? So, thoughts?
I want to find a way for people to do the right thing without asking it. I haven't thought of a great way to do that. But since we switched to using like a YAML file for how our for the CAP process, I wonder if we have the ability to put things in there like, these are my metric URLs, right? Or these are my metric names. And if we structured it like that, would we be able to reduce review burden, right? Because honestly, even if I'm doing it, I'm basically going to look at what this guy says, and if he says this metric works, I'm not going to look to see if that metric is actually there. I'm going to trust the man that the metric is there and it works.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea, and that's like one of the reasons we wanted to separate that out, so we could do more snazzy stuff like that. So, okay, excellent. Maybe we go through the individual questions and we see which of those can be enforced instead of listing it here, list these metrics in the YAML, which also starts to get us towards future better automation too.
Yeah. Now I will admit that I cherry picked like the easiest possible one. Uh, but we got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I think some of the other ones are slightly harder to describe, but I think things like describe your SLO or your SLA, what your goals are and what you actually guarantee from Wojtek could be phrased if you have the right metrics in terms of a prompt. Right?
Right. Like, yeah, that would be.
Because but now prompt UL, like that's there's a big step from like I can develop my feature and give a metric on it to I can write a good prompt UL query.
And, yes. And it may be, I think one of the things we said in the questionnaire, or one of the comments maybe that I made it in, was that for different, like it's kind of an operator decision. These would be suggestions, but
Yeah. I agree. Like, but if you look, there are the community Prometheus repos that say like, hey, put your alerts in here. And while that would be awesome for me personally, if everyone put their alerts in there to give me a good starting point, thinking about what your prompt is like. We've never asked for it before. I don't even know how many members of the community are aware that there's a thing or how to use that thing.
Right, wouldn't know how to write those queries.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a future step. Like,
yeah.
I think that would be, if you can get to the place where there's enough of these machine readable things, you can create dashboards automatically almost. Right? Or maybe not automatically, but you can create alerts, like you said. Okay. So that's a good suggestion. It does reduce the burden. Kind of fits in with automating an approver guide. Okay, well, any other thoughts around, like we had, unfortunately, so Jeremy, do you want to be in the pool? We need a bigger pool here. We've never gotten huge attendance in this meeting, and maybe though, if the issue is getting people to where we believe that they have the background knowledge to make those decisions, and as anything in the community. So how we bootstrap this team is still not clear. Beyond just the few of us doing it, maybe learning enough about what we can automate to do that, and maybe learning more about how we need to train people up.
Yeah. But I'm thinking if we go through and can find things where like we actually just want this in the form, and if you do it in the quote normal way, the review gets streamlined, people get more inclined to do it. And if you train them by bot, then they don't get angry at a person. It's a social hack. I admit that it is a social hack, but like people, they get angry at a bot, but then there's just nothing they can do, so they deal with bot. And trying to streamline that could have some benefits. So it might be worth going through and seeing which of the questions we can structure in a way that is valuable. I'm trying to think of what some of the other ones are. There were questions about that I had around like upgrade, downgrade, upgrade. I don't know that I can see some kind of automated way to do it, except for potentially an assertion like I tried this. And I would hope that if someone actually went and like asserted, yes, I tried this. But
We have to have some truth.
yeah, like, enter the captcha to prove that you did it.
I mean, this can be, sorry, are you seeing my screen? Like
Yeah.
this can be in the metadata. And this is actually super useful potentially in the metadata having the feature date, like for other purposes too. That's just an answer. The thing is, if we move answers into the kept.yaml,
Then it just becomes like a yes, cut and paste exercise. I get that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I picked the easy one.
Yeah. We don't have any really good way to like identify tests either. Like in theory, right, you can list the tests, but there's no good ID for a test. You could list the file that it's in. This is just prose answer. Specific metrics should inform a rollback. Metric, SOIs, metric name, SOOs.
Which are the services? That could be interesting to know, but only if we had formalized names.
I think that can be evolved over time. Like, let's. It's interesting. Like
Leave it freeform to start, and then we look and see what appears because we can be able to query it and then try to come up.
Yeah, I mean, but some of it, it's like, okay, metric server. We don't actually need a specific metric server. We need some metric server that
Host those APIs. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I can see that being full with an example list and then starting it freeform, and then a year from now coming in and saying like, yeah, let's find all the different misspellings of metric server and make them the same. But just see what's there. That one could do. Did we talk about skew in here? I'm trying to remember. Did we talk about kubelet skew? That's the one everyone forgets.
We don't talk about skew at all. We just rely on the existing skew policies.
Like, I don't know if you've been bit by the not all kubelets in support have the same level of like CSI compatibility stuff.
I have not personally been bit. I can't tell you. I don't know.
Okay. I think it's probably worth us trying to automate at least a couple of them. And then I think most of it stays Q&A for a while.
Yeah. So you want to, all right. So I'll say update the cap page to list questions that can be validated by bot and to include implementation. that bot.
I took the last bot, and I'm still working my way through the tag all the APIs for data. So I won't be able to get to this for a while because it turns out we have lots of APIs, and Jordan made all of the data deprecated.
So we have existing work to do around CAP validation, and so this will be part of the CAP validation bot. So I mean, I'm willing to take the work on the updating the CAP, but what we need a little bit more comprehensive plan around the CAP validations we're going to do. So, which is great. I mean, there's another CAP validation. Actually, another CAP validation is that your approver is assigned and has approved prior to either targeting or implementable state. So that's something the enhancement sub-project will work on. We can work on that, building out the CAP validation tooling better. And what you've given us, David, is a sort of another use case beyond, that's beyond what we had just looking at approval. That specific kind of thing. So that's fine. I mean, I may end up doing the bot too, but like let's get to figure out everything we need that thing to do, and go from there. So, anything else? So you're not concerned right now, David, over just 3 people in this, you and me and Wojciech? Right?
I'm not sure what to do about it. It's not exactly a thing we can really draft for, right? Like you can't make someone do it.
Okay. For now, it'll be fine, and if we find ourselves overwhelmed, then we recruit.
I would start by trying to like automate the little pieces that we can, and then like, can we automate other signals that make it so like, oh, this one definitely needs to be looked at, because like every piece of automation we expect is missing, right? That they don't have a feature flag listed, or they don't have an API and API status level listed in their metadata. And so we know like, okay, you look like high risk now.
Right. So we automate the validation that like at least it's complete, and and then when we come in for the review, there's not like too many revisions.
Yeah, and I guess I would also start it. I think we had agreed this was starting as informative, not blocking right now, right? Or were we trying to transition to blocking in 119? That was because Kepmageddon is coming.
I mean, we were trying to transition to blocking. But it's not merged yet, right?
Yeah.
That's what 20 says. So
I think we should try to filter and see what the storm looks like. Okay. Unless you filtered last release. I did not filter last release.
I did not filter, no. I mean, I know all the CAPs because I was on Jeremy's team. I know all the CAPs that we're going through, but, I wasn't filtering everyone from that, right? So there are a lot. There's a so did we decide, the way I wrote this here was that it's required for targeting to a milestone or release, but we do have different levels of completeness that's required based on whether you're alpha, beta, or GA. And maybe, I'm not sure if we've captured that. Well, let's see, feature gate, that's gotta be there for alpha, right? Like which of these, like metrics?
So like an upgrade downgrade story, we only, I mean, I care about for beta. I care about even more for GA.
Right.
But attempting to phase in, basically, we don't want to end up and suddenly be the blocker for everything, and then just get yelled at.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so if we can find a way to prioritize what we think needs a second look, let's do that, right? So yeah, I probably would not worry much about alpha things, except that they list a feature gate inside of the YAML, right? Beta things that are newly beta, probably care most about them having a feature gate and telling me their metric, right? Because without the metric, it's hard to know when you can go GA. Then when you get to GA, going into the more in-depth, like, let me look at your answer. Did you answer? Did you answer?
Right.
Because I think we're going to have a hard time going and saying, even for some beta things, what is the judgment on scalability there? It's on by default in the cluster, but there's a significant judgment factor. You look at server-side apply, right? That had severe scalability impacts when we first put it in. What is the judgment about whether it can be beta or not here? And that one was a pretty complex negotiation, me, Daniel, and Wojtek, right? So.
How is this going to work? So I'm trying to think about this idea of putting things in the kept.yaml. I mean, are we saying you have to put them in both places? Kept.yaml in here? Like, it becomes unreadable if you don't have the answers in here. Not that big of a deal. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you need to read it? Like, I expect that in like APIs, they're going to end up in both because people are going to talk about their APIs. But I think telling someone to put their API names in a kept YAML is pretty fair, right? Like, I introduced these APIs. Metrics you probably aren't even going to discuss in the enhancement itself, but when the little checkbox goes red and says for beta you should have a metric, add it to keps.yaml here, people will start adding their metrics.
What does that mean? Require but not blocking. Like, you require them to fill it out, but you may not review it.
I for things going GA, like can we say for things going GA,
yes,
we want to do it. So, but for things not going GA, strongly recommended, because when you go GA, you're going to have to do this. That seems like a position we could support, right? Right, where it's like, well, we've identified that things that go GA really need to have their answers looked at because you can't always turn them off, and you need to think about what happens when something that can't be turned off has these impacts. And then we can say we strongly recommend it for things in the beta stage, because when you go to GA, you have to have these answers.
Right. I would say even for beta, we need to feature There's no point in feature gating DA anymore. Right, even for alpha, I would say.
Yeah. I think alpha needs a feature gate. I think beta needs a metric.
That's the first cut, and we can review it.
Yeah.
Okay. I can do another round of revisions to the cap and to a couple of these PRs. So I would want the cap template to reflect this thinking to help, so people don't get confused. And then obviously the power cap has to edit that. That works for me. All right. It gives me some things to do beyond the other action items I haven't done yet. Because I don't have enough other things to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going through this deprecation stuff. That the last big thing that like we're still ongoing because it's just taking some time, and we're working through it with Jordan. And I'm just imagining the pitchforks that come out when APIs auto stop being served, which is a thing that can be done with metadata now. Bot enforcement is real, and yeah.
How are you going to do that now? Are you going to retro? So things that have already been out there, are you going to start the timer like with this release?
Yes.
So,
so we're starting the 3 releases from now. You are deprecated. 3 releases after that, you're removed. Right? You don't just insta deprecate in 119. But there are some existing things you might not have even thought about. Did you know that CRDs were deprecated V1 beta 1 in 116?
When in 116, you said?
116, they were deprecated. So guess what should happen in 119? We should delete.
Wow.
CRD V1 beta 1. What do you think them internets are going to do to me if I do that?
That's what I'm saying. Existing things probably you need to give them a grace. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that it was officially announced, right? This isn't a case of like it hadn't even thought of it. It was like this was announced. Mm-hmm. But do I believe anyone has noticed? When you look at the world, samples still use V1 beta 1.
This is why we need Jordan's. We need Jordan's warnings.
Yes, well, that'll help. Yeah. I think it just defers it. And you see the advantage is that if we did it now, everyone's got a stay-at-home order, so they can't come and find me. But like 3 months from now, who knows?
No, man, you can find people's address on Google. It's not that
hard. Anyway, I do think we're making significant forward progress. It's just that progress, there's a lot of existing mass, a lot of inertia has to move.
Yeah, I wonder so if your changes go in that have this metadata and therefore could stop serving these APIs, are we doing beyond Jordan's thing? Which isn't obviously there yet, are we doing any kind of warnings to people?
So if Jordan's warnings show up in 119, and that looks likely, right? Like the amount of code is not large. And then I complete actually plumbing in every little piece of metadata because some poor sap has to go through all the existing ones and write all that metadata out. Then we say that nothing actually gets removed for another 3 releases. So even things that are deprecated and should be removed now, we push out another 3 releases. It gives some additional warning. Jordan and I have been debating back and forth the value of, in that final release, when they actually get removed, whether there should be a kick the can down the road flag that says, for one release, if you upgraded and did not pay attention and these things are gone, you can turn them all back on for one release while you fix yourself, and then turn that flag back off, so that you can see whether it works. That way you don't have to do a lot of upgrade, downgrade, upgrade, downgrade, upgrade, downgrade as you try to deal with the actors. Because in my experience, upgrade, downgrade, upgrade doesn't always end happily. We're debating. No firm decision.
I think what sounds like you're thinking about is like, you know, I'm the cluster operator and I decide to upgrade and I've got 100 teams using this thing and, you know, 30 of them aren't paying attention. Like, is that the problem?
It is. And it is the, like, once I do that, what am I doing? Obviously, downgrade should work. But if I had hang on, one more release, do I think cluster admins would use it responsibly? I think some of them would, right?
Right. Some people may just turn it on and leave it on and then forget about it. And then,
right. And the thing is that because I would force it in code, it would work for exactly one release. You get one release of grace. You should have listened to me, man. And then, well, it doesn't turn on anymore.
And where are we emitting? So we put these warnings back to the client, but do we put warnings in some logs or have a metric that counts? There's
a metric for when a beta API is accessed. But what happens is that we've made those metrics in OpenShift before, and they don't really work very well. And the reason they don't work well is because kube control by default will choose the first thing served. And if you've changed groups, sometimes the first thing served is deprecated. So for instance, extensions. If you do an OC get ingress, you always by default get the deprecated one, which makes the metric just explode and lose most of its value.
That sounds like that sounds fixable.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, things you wish that didn't happen that do.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I'm trying to think about from the operator point of view, like, we need to make sure that they know and identify.
Yeah. So yes, there are plans to publish a metric. And then I think I've got Jordan convinced to give kick the can down the road flag.
Right. The metric would be super useful because we're getting ready to do the 116 upgrade, and nobody, we serve like a whole bunch of internal VMware tenants, and like nobody has upgraded. They're still using all of the old deprecated stuff that goes away in 116. So like we've rolled out webhooks to label stuff when it's coming in, like, and it's just, it would be so nice to just point them and say, okay, here's where you were querying this, please stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like the Jordan stuff gives the warning to the client, right?
Yeah, he also did write that he was going to add a metric, right? Like once we have this metadata that I'm adding on all the types, once you have that in code, you can do a lot with it, and that's how we're driving these things.
Well, his warning thing is going to have to be fixed anyway. I mean, the kube control is going to have to be fixed anyway because of his warning thing. People are going to get so peeved every time they do a get and it gives them a warning.
Yeah, you think they would, but
it's a warning. Ignore it.
Exactly. Okay, I think we've chatted enough. Unless somebody has something important, I'm good with where we are for now. Any other thoughts?
Good luck with Zoom and Google.
Yeah, I have a personal Chromebook I can run it on too.
All right. Take care, and I'll see you in the channel.
All right, see you later.